You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Aiden Hutchinson.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Aiden Hutchinson. Today is May 25th, 2022, and we will be discussing the Detroit Lions and their 2022 NFL draft grade. But before we get going, I would just like to take a moment to recognize the tragedy that happened yesterday in Uvalde, Texas at Robb Elementary School. There is a shooting. That 18-year-old who was able to purchase a couple of assault rifles, took them to the school after crashing his car in a ditch outside the building, went right in, and then just started a complete and utter massacre. Disgusting. I mean, there's not enough words to describe the entire incident. 19 students, young children, dead, went to school that day, expecting to go home afterwards, and, their parents never got to see their kid again. It's very unfortunate, and my thoughts and prayers go out to the families of those involved. I don't have the answers to how to solve that problem. It seems like as I've grown up, being 26 years old, this is something that has become more and more commonplace, and it should not be, and it almost feels like it's like a rinse and repeat type of thing, and it shouldn't feel that way, but it's something that needs to be solved. Again, I don't have all the answers to it. I really wish I did, and hopefully lawmakers and the people that are responsible for trying to find solutions to things like this can come up with the right solutions, whether it be addressing stricter gun control laws, or if it's maybe trying to focus a little bit more on the mental side of why people are so willing to do something like this. It's got to be somewhere in between. I don't think one specific answer is the answer to it all, but hopefully we're able to figure something out and, heal as a country from the madness that keeps going on, where just the shootings are happening left and right, and nobody seems to be figuring out an answer to any of it. But with that, we will discuss, like I mentioned, the Detroit Lions today and their draft grade. Pretty interesting draft class, I guess you could say. They had some really good selections in the first couple of rounds there, clearly trying to bring in a strong infusion of talent. And then moving into days 2 and 3, we have some pretty solid prospects, guys who could potentially turn into something with some good physical talent, and then some guys that are also very good on the mental side of things. A linebacker in specific that we will be discussing in this group that I really, really like, and I'm a big fan of his play style. But we'll start with day 3. We'll move into day number 2, and then we'll wrap up with day number 1, and I'll give my final overall grade for the Lions. So we'll start with rounds number 7 here. Chase Lucas, the cornerback out of Arizona State. I gave the grade a C. He's praised for being a leader and someone who is confident in his play with very solid technique. He takes good angles when it comes to attacking the ball at the catch point, and he also comes with some solid athleticism as well. 4.48 speed. He has a 39-inch vertical, so definitely no slouch in the athlete department, if I would say so myself. He does have some knocks, though, and the biggest one more so being his size than anything else. A little bit smaller, 5'11", 180 pounds. There is a little bit of concern that maybe some of the bigger receivers in the NFL might give him some trouble there. He also has an issue when it comes to closing the distance. While he does have that 4.48 speed, when it comes to just kind of closing the gap between he and the receiver during the catch, if he's lagging behind, whatever it may be, the 4.48 speed sometimes does not translate to on the field speed, which is always a fun topic to discuss because there are people who run outstanding 40-yard dash times, but then they don't translate that speed over to game tape. And I'm not saying that that's his case specifically, just a more general thought point where there are guys that run very fast in shorts and a t-shirt, but then are definitely not quite that quick when they're wearing a bunch of football equipment. He does have a tendency to stall on route breaks as well, causing him to lose to receivers. So there's a lot of technique and fundamental things that need to be addressed, as well as I don't want to say average athleticism, because again, he has 4.48 speed, 39-inch vertical. That's not necessarily the average athleticism of people, but he's a solid prospect, someone who could definitely help on special teams to begin with and potentially carve out a role in the secondary down the line should he progress in the right direction. Like I said, I gave the pick a C. It is a team need, something that they did need to add on to the board, and they did do just that. So I like the selection. Good piece, and again, someone who could probably start out helping out on special teams and rolling from there. Potentially, he doesn't even make the cut. There's 7th rounders, 6th rounders, even 5th rounders, hell, that sometimes don't even make a team when it comes time to roster cut downs to start the season. So we'll see what he ends up carving out here, but I gave the pick a C. Then going into round number 6, pick number 217, James Houston, the edge rusher from Jackson State University. This is someone who has played both the inside and rushing linebacker roles in their defense. He brings some good physicality to his play, and he also has a very good motor. One thing I noticed when I was watching his film I feel like he's constantly going, no matter what. He is constantly going, and that's the type of guy that you want to have, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You need people that are just not willing to quit. Even if it feels like they're being knocked out of the play, they're still hustling, trying to get to the football regardless. Now, there are some things that come to mind when you're watching his game tape, though, and one thing has to be his undisciplined play style. You can tell that he kind of shies away from the technical side of things in the way he rushes and moves in going after the quarterback, especially when he's playing the rush linebacker role. It was something that I kind of noticed, and I'm not even really that skilled in identifying those types of things. It's just kind of, you can tell when you're watching very good, technically sound rushers, and then guys who maybe rely a little bit more on their athleticism and their just pure ability to try to beat players when they're going up for the rush. And that's definitely something I noticed for him. And he's also knocked for his not so much an ideal size. He is only 6'1", 241 pounds, so a little bit smaller for a rushing type of linebacker. So this is someone who, again, another special teams contributor. He does bring some really good versatility to the table, though. So I gave him a C+ for a grade, because he's someone that you could try him out in one role. If it doesn't work out there, maybe another one. And he should be somebody who should be a contributor on special teams. He has shown flashes here and there as well. This is someone who I think could, at the very worst, end up being someone within the bottom 50 of the roster, but still making the team. So I gave the pick a C+. I think it's a solid addition for the unit there. Then, also taken in round number 6, and this is probably my obviously I love the idea of Aiden Hutchinson and Jameson Williams, but when we're talking depth selections is what I'm trying to say here, and players that aren't necessarily as highly touted as the guys going in rounds 1 and 2. Malcolm Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Oklahoma State. If you have not seen this guy's film, go and watch this dude absolutely maul people when it comes to bringing people down. He is noted as the brain of the defense, but if you see the way he tackles, he has a background in wrestling, and it's very evident and very clear the way he wraps up and brings people down, that he knows what he's doing when catching people in space or when he's just right there to come in and break up a play. I love the physical play style he brings to the table. He reminds me of the more so old school linebackers, with how physical and just how explosive he can be coming in for the tackles. Very technical player overall as well. He's praised for his ability and his techniques. Like I said, he is noted as the brain of his defense, and a lot of scouts love what he brings to the game. Technically speaking, he is a little bit more on the average side in terms of athleticism, but like I said, he reminds me of one of those more old school linebackers, where he's someone who's going to plug up the middle, and if he catches you, he's going to bring you down, because he just has that much play strength in him. Love what he brings to the table. He was a fourth round grade as well, which is kind of a steal, getting him in the 6th round, allowing him to fall this far and still being able to scoop him up. I mean, I really like this selection. I really like Malcolm Rodriguez's play style. Again, more of an average athlete, but the brains, his ability to clean up tackles, and just he has and what is praised as a best-in-class pursuit of the football. This is a guy who in the 6th round is a steal. I gave it a B. I'm a big fan of him. Think he should end up being somebody who definitely makes the roster, and I think he could be someone who could really contribute in a linebacking corps that really needs some playmaking difference makers. Then, final pick in day 3 at round number 5, James Mitchell, the tight end out of Virginia Tech. He is somebody that when I was watching his tape, noticeable. He fights for the ball in contested catch situations. He's very aggressive in going after it and will wrestle his way in there. He also has a pretty solid ability to make those one-handed catches as well. He has near 10-inch hands, so he's got giant, massive mitts to make those catches. And he's got sneaky speed for his size. He's a little bit faster than you would expect him to be. That was something I noted myself and even read when I was going through scouting reports as well about him afterwards. I think that this is a solid addition. They obviously have TJ Hawkinson over there in Detroit, so he's not someone who's probably going to be making any immediate impacts per se, but he is someone that, maybe he learns behind him. He becomes a solid number 2 guy. And, even if he's good for just a couple of touchdowns here and there, he brings a little bit of just decent athleticism and depth behind TJ Hawkinson. solid selection, I guess you could say, at best. However, though, there are some things that are concerning. He's battling back from a season-ending knee injury, so it might actually even limit just how much he's able to do in that first year. And his blocking technique does need improvement. That was something that when I was reading about him, I felt like kept coming up in a lot of people's notes. So if he does need to be working on his blocking, that'll be another thing for the learning curve to add as well. So like I said, at best, solid selection. I think it grades out to be about a C. I understand bringing in depth behind TJ Hawkinson, but Hawkinson's been fairly consistent. He's been a pretty solid tight end prospect so far, or player. I don't want to say prospect. He's been in the league for a while now. Tight end player for a while now. But I guess I understand wanting to bring depth behind him. I just don't necessarily know if James Mitchell right in this spot was the right selection, considering the amount of team needs you have. Like, you have a number 1 tight end. Yeah, I could understand wanting to have a number 2, but on a roster that really needed a lot going into this draft process, I feel like you could have skipped over tight end here and maybe taken a more pressing need. Like taking multiple linebackers would not have been a bad idea for them in this situation here, just because of the fact that the linebacking corps has been, I would say, less than stellar in Detroit. But overall, for the day 3 picks, I did settle at a B- for the grade, in large part because I really like James Houston, the edge rusher from Jackson State, and I really like Malcolm Rodriguez. I think those are 2 really good selections here. And James, and it's more so, like, I did, when you do the averaging out, you could probably say it's like a C+. The reason I gave it a B- is because I'm a very big fan of what Malcolm Rodriguez brings to the table, and there's pretty good potential coming out of James Houston that I think there's a possibility that what they bring to the table at least outweighs what the other 2 guys may not necessarily bring to the table. I really like the linebacking pick, though, with Malcolm Rodriguez. I think that's someone who is a sleeper and someone who could produce pretty early on for the Lions. So I like a B+ for a B- for day number 3. Solid group of guys with some good potential upside. We'll have to see what happens with them, but a B- I'm fine with. Now, going into day number 2, we got 2 selections here, one in round 3 at pick 97 and one in round number 2 at pick 46. Now, my biggest issue with both of these picks is that they're considered reaches here. Kirby Joseph, their safety that they drafted in the 3rd round, did have a 5th round grade on him, so it is a bit of a reach there. And then Joshua Pascal, the DN out of Kentucky. I actually really like Joshua Pascal, but he was a 3rd round grade that was taken in the 2nd round. So it felt kind of like the Lions might have been reaching a little bit, and maybe it was because they just really wanted their guys and they went after those guys specifically. I don't know their reasoning. Obviously, I am not on the Lions coaching staff or anything, or the people selecting these players, but a lot of reaching going on in day number 2, which knocked my grading on them a little bit here. Now, we'll start with Kirby Joseph, the safety out of Illinois. He's very fluid. He's very athletic. You can see it in the way he moves for the football. He's a longer safety, and he uses it to... All right, sorry about that. I don't know if you guys saw what that just was, but like there was like a big flash of light. It's literally the morning time as I'm recording this. So, I mean, it is bright as can be in this room right now, and I saw a flash of light come from the outside, and then I heard a crash. So I don't know what that was all about, but I wanted to go take a look. But Kirby Joseph, like I was saying, very fluid, very athletic player. He's a longer safety, and you can tell he uses it to his advantage when you watch his game tape. He's praised for his patience and willingness to kind of sit back and kind of let things develop before he strikes. And he positions himself fairly well to make plays. If you watch his tape, you can see him very often, more often than not, getting a hand in there, separating the football between the playmaker and the ball itself. I like what he brings to the table, but like I said, he is a fifth round grade at best. Response time, while I said he is praised for his patience, it kind of ends up becoming like a negative thing at times, where sometimes he's a little bit too patient and he's a little bit slow to respond to things. Like he lets things almost develop a little bit too much. If he can balance out the when to be aggressive and when to kind of sit back and let something develop so you're not getting fooled by play fakes, he could become a much better player overall. He is knocked for having average closing speed as well, and he's not necessarily the type of thumping safety that you could be putting in the box. He's more of like a deep safety, a coverage type of guy, not someone that you're going to be dropping down more closer to the line of scrimmage. So he is a little bit limited in his versatility as well. I gave the pick a C+, and it might have been a little bit higher had they waited a little bit longer to select him. Like if this is someone taken in like round number 4, I would probably be more inclined to give him like a B- or something like that. But again, he is like a 2-round reach. So knock for that, but a C+. We'll see how he turns out. I will say that I like that they went after safety here, just because of the fact that the secondary overall needed some help, and Kirby Joseph is someone who could definitely participate in that defense more frequently than not early on, just because of the need that is the backfield of the safety, or not the safety, excuse me, of the secondary there. So again, solid selection, C+. Like where he stands. We'll have to see what he produces as, but again, just a little bit of a reach for my taste. Then when you're looking at Joshua Pascal, the D-end out of Kentucky, this was someone that I looked at a lot pre-draft because there was a couple of different teams that I thought he would fit in really well with. He's someone that has great containment skill, very good at setting the edges there. He's powerful. He's explosive off the snap, leading to a lot of good winning opportunities in the pass rush. If you watch his game tape, you can see it. And he has proven production as well. He's a very, very good player. I like what he brings to the table, especially for a team like the Lions who need, again, playmakers on the defensive side of the football. His footwork does need development, though, from what scouts have been saying, and he's prone to gassing out in battles if he doesn't win in early rushes, and that's something that you can kind of see in his tape as well when you're watching him go back and play. He can win, but sometimes it takes him a little too long to win, and you can tell if it starts to, like, if he's getting into like a real battle to try to get to the QB, you can start to see him kind of slow down a little bit, and he never actually gets there. But he does have the quick strike ability where if he can win quickly and effectively, he's there, and he's typically within that pile if things are breaking down on the offensive side of the ball that he's going up against. So I like what he brings to the table. I think he's an effective guy. He has proven production from Kentucky as well. I gave this one a B+. I think he's a really good prospect and someone who should bring a lot to the defense over there in Detroit, a playmaker that they definitely needed to be looking to add. And again, I was pretty high on him coming into the pre-draft process. I really liked what he brings to the table. So the fact that Detroit was able to nab him, even if it was a one-round reach, not too bad. And I mean, it was about like midway in the second round at that. So you can't be too upset about that reach there, quote unquote. So good selection for them. Overall, for day number 2, I gave the Lions a B-. Solid couple of guys there for day number 2. And then for the final round in day number 1, I'll come off the cuff and just say that I gave day number 1 an A, because when you're looking at Aiden Hutchinson and Jameson Williams, wide receiver out of Alabama, and then D-end out of Michigan for Hutchinson, these are two guys on both sides of the ball that are difference makers. Jameson Williams is obviously battling back from a really tough injury from this past season, but that almost... The way people are recovering, especially from like what used to be more devastating injuries, a number of years ago, are coming back and looking like the same player, if not better. It's hard to be super worried about people coming back from injuries these days. It depends on who it is. And Jameson Williams comes off as a guy to me who is not going to be set back and limited because of an injury or something like this. I love what he brings to the table as a wide receiver. I mean, and before I even really got into like watching college football, which if I'm being upfront with you guys, I really have not done a ton of watching into college football up until like within the last year or so. Did I really even get into it too much? I've always been more of like a pro kind of guy. I like the NFL and that kind of stuff. Was never really too into college, but I've been enjoying trying to like get into it and watching player highlights and kind of seeing where all these players are coming from. Jameson Williams is just an awesome player, and I think he is a great addition for an offense that really needed playmaking talent, especially after losing Kenny Golladay. So awesome pick to add a true receiving threat to the team. And then someone like Aiden Hutchinson, who a lot of people consider the most sure bet prospect, a guy who is from Michigan already, staying in Michigan to play for Detroit. I mean, it has storybook written all over it. I love the selection here, and I think he's a really good player, and the fact that they're getting a hometown player at that is awesome for them. He has leadership, proven production. He brings to the table exactly what the Lions need on that defensive side to help improve that pass rush, and he's playing more than likely alongside someone like Joshua Pascal from Kentucky. I love this pairing of these two guys together. You're going from a defense that really lacked any sort of pass rush threat to you're bringing in two guys when paired up, hopefully produce at a above average rate and can really help things, and especially in the secondary. And I say this a lot on the show. When you're trying to improve your secondary, one of the faster ways to do it is to improve your pass rush, because then your secondary is responsible for covering the receivers for less time, makes them more effective, makes your defense more effective. It makes it far more efficient and more threatening as well. So I like both of these picks. I gave an A- for Jameson Williams strictly because of the injury, but like I said, I'm not really too worried about it. Aiden Hutchinson got himself an A. I gave day 1 an A overall. excellent couple of picks here to help try to turn this franchise around. As for my final grade for the entirety of the draft, I did cap things off with a B+ here. I think that the Lions did a pretty good job bringing in a lot of talent, especially on the top half of this draft for them. They brought in a lot of guys that I think could potentially start or see a ton of playing time right out of the gate. More so those day 3 guys will remain to be seen. We'll have to see how some of them contribute, but like Malcolm Rodriguez, like I said, an absolute steal in the 6th round, someone I'm a very big fan of and heavily fixated on for this Lions draft class. And I'm really hoping that he pans out the way I think he will, because he brings aggression to the game in a way that I don't think the Lions have had recently. And then again, you have Aiden Hutchinson. You're also looking at Josh Pascal, a couple of other guys that should be potential difference makers for this defense. I like the group overall. Really good draft class, B+ for the Lions. My Lions fans, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a good rest of your Wednesday, everyone, and I'll catch you guys next time.